Let me share the intriguing story of Sam, not the real name, an individual who faced difficulty in making friends. Social interactions weren't his strong suit, and to compound matters, he had developed a sense of suspicion towards overly friendly individuals for the reasons I will explain. At a remarkably young age, Sam acquired substantial wealth. Although I won't disclose the specifics of how he amassed his fortune, it suffices to say that he had created something that brought him immense prosperity. Being an intelligent individual, Sam made shrewd investments with the majority of his money, ensuring a consistent monthly income that would sustain him for the rest of his life. As a result, while he didn't lead an opulent lifestyle, he no longer had to work for a living. A few years after his financial windfall, Sam found himself growing bored and decided to enroll in college. There, he encountered a group of people who eagerly sought his friendship. The ease with which he formed connections with them brought him joy for a while. However, little did he know that these newfound companions had stumbled upon information about his wealth through online searches. At first, the requests were innocuous. On occasion, one of them would approach Sam, claiming to be short on money and asking for a loan. However, when he requested repayment, they would brush off his reminders. Sam began to feel a sense of unease, but he was reluctant to lose his newly formed friendships. Then, the situation took a more disheartening turn. The group collectively decided to embark on a vacation to a renowned amusement park. Pressured by his friends, Sam found himself shouldering the expenses for tickets, flights, and hotel rooms. He tried to explain that his monthly income wasn't sufficient to cover such extravagances, but they reassured him that he would be repaid and intensified the social pressure upon him. Eventually, succumbing to their persistence, Sam obtained an advance on his next month's payment to fund the vacation. As if these actions weren't distressing enough during the vacation, his friends consistently abandoned him. Every time he attempted to spend time with them, they would offer excuses like, "We already made plans to meet these other guys," or "We've already eaten." By the end of the trip, Sam was forced to confront the harsh reality that these individuals were not truly his friends. Filled with anger and frustration, an idea began to form in Sam's mind while perusing the local news. He stumbled upon an article about a nearby restaurant that had created a dish priced at $1,000. Although primarily a publicity stunt, inspired by another eatery that had garnered significant attention through a similar feat, Sam understood that his so-called friends perceived him as their gateway to a life of opulence. Determined to expose his friends' true intentions, Sam began strategically ensuring that they encountered multiple mentions of the exorbitantly priced dish on a daily basis. Eventually, his plan took effect as they started suggesting a group outing to try this culinary masterpiece. Sam made it explicitly clear to them that he was still recovering from the financial aftermath of their previous vacation. While he could manage to cover the cost of the dish for himself, he couldn't afford to pay for their meals. They all claimed to understand, although a flicker of concern crossed their faces. Unbeknownst to Sam, they had mistakenly equated being a millionaire with having $1 million readily available in one's checking account. The long-awaited day arrived, and each of them confidently ordered the $1,000 dish. The restaurant's manager, sensing something amiss, approached their table and inquired whether they were certain they had the necessary funds to indulge in this extravagant meal. Each friend reassured the manager that they were prepared to pay. As the meal progressed, the friends grew increasingly uneasy, their nervousness palpable to Sam. Although he couldn't recall the exact flavors of the dish, he described it as salty and slimy, akin to soggy French fries submerged in water. As the dining experience neared its end, a wave of anxiety washed over his companions. When it came time to settle the bill, everyone handed over their debit cards. Sam's payment went through smoothly, while every other card was met with the disheartening message of declined. They turned to Sam, uttering statements such as, "I don't understand why it's not working. Can you assist us?" In a particularly smug manner, one friend even slid her bill across the table towards Sam. Sam responded with unabashed honesty, "I don't have enough money in my checking account to cover your bills." With that, he rose from his seat and began walking away. One of his friends called out desperately, "You can't just leave us like this." Sam coolly retorted, "I made some plans to meet up with other guys." Determined not to allow anyone else to exploit him for their own gain, Sam left, unaware that the restaurant manager had alerted the authorities. A police report was filed, and the matter proceeded to court. Ultimately, his former friends were compelled to pay both the restaurant bill and a substantial fine. Moreover, their legal troubles resulted in the university placing them on probation. The most satisfying aspect of this whole ordeal, however, was Sam's decision to share the simplified version of events with as many people as possible. He recognized that most individuals wouldn't be interested in the intricate details, and he felt a sense of embarrassment at having been deceived. Thus, he chose to portray the incident as a case of attempting to sneak out of a restaurant without paying. This concise yet impactful narrative quickly spread among their fellow college students, effectively transforming the once friends into social pariahs. Ever since I was a young child, migraines have plagued me, striking with varying intensity. Sometimes they would creep in slowly, while other times they would hit me like a sledgehammer, rendering me instantly unable to function. Dealing with migraines in college proved to be a tremendous challenge. The available medications at the time merely knocked you out, offering temporary relief from the pain and nausea, but leaving you in a daze. It was during my freshman year in 1987 when a fateful incident unfolded, forever altering my perspective. One evening, I found myself at a party celebrating my roommate's boyfriend's birthday. Unaware that champagne served as a trigger for my migraines, I took a sip or two and almost instantly, a throbbing pain erupted in my head. We were gathered at someone's house, about 20 minutes away from the dorm. Recognizing my distress, my roommate, though unaware of the severity of the situation, managed to arrange for a guy she vaguely knew from a few parties to drive me back to our dormitory. However, during the drive that I believed would take me safely home, the guy unexpectedly pulled over in an undeveloped area, far from any signs of civilization. Panic washed over me as I realized I was trapped with a stranger whose true intentions were unclear. In my attempt to flee, I found myself pursued and ultimately assaulted before being abandoned on the desolate roadside. Disoriented and injured, I had no idea of my whereabouts, let alone how to find my way back to the dorm or seek medical help. After what felt like an eternity, a compassionate woman stumbled upon me, curled up in pain on the side of the road. She initially mistook me for lifeless, but upon realizing I was still alive, she half-carried me into her car. Jotting down the location where she found me, she swiftly drove me to the nearest hospital. By that point, I could barely muster the strength to utter my own name. My body bore the evidence of the merciless attack, covered in bruises and contusions. The hospital staff administered pain medication and muscle relaxants, cautiously ensuring that I hadn't sustained any severe head injuries. The assailant had intentionally targeted areas that would remain concealed. My roommate returned home a day after my arrival at the hospital, having stayed overnight at her boyfriend's dorm room. Although she would have likely stayed longer, her weekly phone call with her parents compelled her to return promptly. Upon witnessing the extent of my injuries, shock and guilt washed over her. I couldn't help but question why she had entrusted me to the care of a stranger she scarcely knew. She too was taken aback by the realization that individuals with malicious intentions rarely reveal their true nature. However, she did provide me with some information about the assailant. He was not a resident of our city, but instead attended a highly esteemed Christian school known for its exceptional law program. He was currently studying law and had come to our city to attend the party. Furthermore, his father held a prominent position as a renowned lawyer affiliated with a televangelist's church. This was merely the beginning of the unsettling revelations I would uncover about him. It's important to note that social media had not yet come into existence at the time, limiting the avenues through which such information could be obtained. Driven by a burning desire for justice, I reached out to individuals who had also attended the party and gathered more information about the assailant. Through these conversations, I managed to acquire his girlfriend's name. Determined to unveil the truth about him, I headed to the library, where I delved into research on his girlfriend, the church she belonged to, the law school, and the college they both attended. Armed with photographs of my injuries from the hospital, I embarked on a mission to expose the dark secrets hidden behind his facade. Though I had chosen not to press charges, Aware of the daunting task of proving my case, I recognized the unfortunate reality of the legal system at that time. It was commonplace for lawyers to discredit assault victims based on their attire, whether they had consumed alcohol, particularly if they were under 21, and various other factors. I did not want to subject myself to the arduous process of fighting such prejudice. My primary goal was to ensure his life faced consequences while safeguarding my own from further harm. To further my cause, I obtained contact information for the dean of his law school, the college administration, his father, his girlfriend, and the owner of the upscale apartment complex where he resided. These apartments were exclusively reserved for individuals pursuing postgraduate degrees, such as law, medicine, or master's degrees, and were awarded as a form of scholarship by a prominent donor to the college. Although I had never personally visited the complex, I had heard from this guy's friends that they were luxurious and highly regarded. Armed with determination, I composed several letters, allowing the emotions to flow freely onto the paper, resulting in tear stains that caused some of the words to blur. Alongside these letters, I included copies of the photos showcasing my bruised body. In these heartfelt letters, I explicitly stated that I had chosen not to pursue legal action due to my understanding of the potential embarrassment it could bring upon the college, the law school, the televangelist's church, or his parents, depending on the recipient. However, I believed it was crucial for them to be aware of his violent actions, as he could pose a threat to their community, their congregation, or their institution. I also emphasized the possible repercussions in terms of public relations if he were to inflict similar harm on someone else in the future. Determined to hold him accountable, I meticulously selected the recipients, tailoring the letters to appeal to their sense of responsibility. Driven by a sense of duty, I dialed the girlfriend's number, which I found listed in the phone book. With a heavy heart, I relayed the truth to her, how her boyfriend had harassed and beaten me. Tears flowed from her eyes as she admitted that he had subjected her to similar abuse, but she had always blamed herself. In response, I reassured her that my experience was not her fault and that during the incident I had been struggling to maintain composure, battling the urge to vomit. I urged her to sever all ties with him, emphasizing the importance of self-preservation and condemning his behavior. She confided in me that her family would be devastated, as he was highly regarded due to his prestigious background and standing at the law school. Unbeknownst to her, I was diligently working to dismantle the image of privilege and respect he enjoyed. After sending out the letters, I patiently waited for the repercussions to unfold. To my surprise, his family responded with a mix of shock and minimal surprise. They offered a sincere apology, acknowledging that he had been in trouble before and that they had hoped his involvement with the church would have steered him toward positive change. Realizing their error in judgment, they decided to sever all ties with him. The owner of the apartment complex took a proactive approach and personally contacted me to hear my side of the story. I recounted the details of the incident and explained my decision not to press charges. He believed my account and promptly initiated eviction proceedings against the assailant. However, the reaction from the church was less supportive. A representative contacted me, urging me to cease spreading what they deemed as falsehoods about the guy. I stood my ground, encouraging them to investigate his behavior by speaking to other girls he had dated, as his girlfriend had disclosed instances of him physically abusing her in moments of anger. The revelation left them astonished. Although I never heard directly from the college, the dean of the law school personally reached out to me. He inquired about the veracity of my claims, and I assured him of their truthfulness. Without the availability of DNA evidence, my word against his would have been the sole basis for any legal action. However, the accusation alone, coupled with the photos of my bruises and tear-stained handwritten letters, was sufficient to prompt the law school to expel him. Their institution held its students to a high standard of integrity, and even the accusation of such misconduct tarnished his reputation irreparably. The outcome of the letters exceeded my expectations. I had anticipated a defensive response from his father, but instead, I received a letter announcing their complete disassociation from him. While this brought a sense of relief, it also indicated that I likely wasn't the first person to accuse him of such behavior. Approximately a year later, I discovered that he had found employment with a company involved in home carpet installation. Determined to protect others, I called the company and alerted them to the fact that they were sending a potential rapist into people's homes. I even offered to provide photos of my bruises as evidence. The woman I spoke with was horrified by the accusation and my concern for the safety of others. Merely learning about his past and realizing the potential liability he posed led the company to terminate his employment. They went a step further by informing other companies in the industry about his actions, effectively limiting his future job prospects. Over time, I learned that he had developed a drinking problem, as relayed by his acquaintances from my school. I continued to move forward with my life, seeking therapy to aid in my healing process. Eventually, I found love and married an amazing partner, with whom I have enjoyed nearly 3 decades of happiness. While I am unsure of the exact trajectory of his life, I am certain that he never achieved his dream of becoming a lawyer. Through my actions, I undoubtedly made his life significantly more challenging. Curiosity led me to search his name online a few years ago, and I discovered that he had accumulated multiple arrests and had spent time incarcerated. I like to believe that by getting him expelled from law school and persuading his family to recognize his unrepentant nature, I played a role in hastening his journey to the defendant's chair in a courtroom. In conclusion, the journey from enduring a traumatic assault to taking a stand against the assailant was fraught with challenges, but I persevered, seeking justice in unconventional ways. Though the scars of the past remain, I have found solace and a renewed sense of purpose in knowing that I may have spared others from enduring similar harm.